Welcome into the Inside Scoop. Today is Wednesday, January 15th, and we are live from Nashville, Tennessee. I'm your host, Josh Newberg. How are you all feeling today? I'm excited. I'm always excited to talk recruiting, but I'm excited for this show. We got major development with the lone five-star in the 2025 class, offensive tackle Ty Haywood. We got Pete Nakos on the show, and he's talking about how this could be the most expensive year to field a college football team. We're going to go behind the scenes of all that. Also, Miami Hurricanes, they got a major flip target on campus this weekend. We'll talk with Azubi Charles of CaneSport, and then we're talking Colorado Buffaloes, instant impact players. So a lot to talk about today, but we're going to get to it. Let's talk Miami Hurricane recruiting. The Canes got the college football world buzzing last week with the addition of quarterback Carson Beck from Georgia. And today we're going to talk about some of these latest developments with Azubi Charles of CaneSport. But before we get into it, Miami fans, do me a favor real quick. Hit the subscribe button to the On3 Recruits channel. We're out here talking Miami recruiting all year round. So jump on board and hit subscribe. All right, let's bring on Azubi Charles from CaneSport. I was going to say Cam Ward to the NFL. In comes Carson Beck from Georgia. And, we've been talking on this channel with you about some of the playmakers. So with all this production leaving the wide receiver room, who do you think is poised for a breakout season at Miami?
Yeah, I'm going to go with rising freshman wide receiver JoJo Trader. Out of high school, he was a really highly touted guy, top 100 prospect. But during the beginning stages of his career, dealt with a nagging shoulder injury. Towards the end of the year, got back healthy, had a great showing in that Pop-Tarts Bowl versus Iowa State. And a lot of people down there in Coral Gables believe he's that guy that's going to be next up in that wide receiver room. Coach Mark Cristobal talked about him a little bit earlier this week and think JoJo Trader has all what it takes to be that next guy for the Miami Hurricanes. So I'm going to go with him as my breakout wide receiver in 2025.
All right, so I was reading CaneSport this morning, saw that there's a big junior day coming up in Coral Gables. But before we get into some of the big names on campus, what is Miami's biggest need or needs in the 2026 cycle?
Yeah, with the 2026 cycle, I'm definitely saying offensive line. Obviously, Mario Cristobal, Alex Mirabal are known for having those, big guys in the trenches and making people move out their way. So this cycle, I think they're really going to hone in on guys. And, there's a lot of talented offensive linemen that the Miami Hurricanes are in the mix right now with guys like Jackson Cantwell, Kenai Pepe from IMG, and the list goes on and on. And if you look at that 2025 roster, Miami possibly will lose all 5 of their starters. So they're definitely going to be needing to bring in some reinforcements in that offensive line. And what better way to do it than bringing in some of the top talents in the 2026 class. 2024, we saw them focus on D-line. Last cycle, we saw them focus on defensive back. I think offensive line is that group we're going to be watching out for a lot in the 2026 cycle.
All right. Who are the big names that are expected on campus this weekend?
Yeah, headlining is going to be Derek Cooper, top 25 prospect out of Madonna, local program down there in South Florida. And then you have a bunch of other On3 100 guys such as Brandon Bennett, who recently got a visit from the Miami Hurricanes. Derek Cooper also got an in-home visit from the offensive coordinator and running backs coach from Miami. Then going down the list, guys like Aiden Pouncey, Brett Colajay, Camden Portis, who's committed to Miami's, whereas Deion Coleman. So a lot of skilled players going to be down there at Coral Gables this weekend, thanks to the Big Battle Miami 7-on-7 tournament as well.
Well, Miami fans want to know, and I'm just going to ask you on behalf of them, but do you see any potential commits this weekend or at least soon?
Yeah, so I'm going to be on Flip Watch actually this weekend. One of the guys I want to talk about is 2026 cornerback Jalen Waters, currently committed to the Florida Gators, but the Hurricanes are making a super, super big push for him. Coach Cristobal is kind of leading that charge for the Canes, and Jalen's liking what he's hearing from Miami. Obviously, some changes on the defensive staff, but that's why he's going to go down there this weekend to check out Coach Corey Heatherman, and he'll actually be shadowing his former high school teammate Kellen Wiley throughout the weekend. So kind of seeing the day in the life of a Miami Hurricanes football player, which could potentially move the needle for the Canes. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Miami kind of charge up and really give the Gators something to look for when it comes to Jalen Waters and his commitment.
All right. Well, the recruiting world will be keeping an eye on Coral Gables this weekend. I'll be keeping an eye on CaneSport because you guys are up to date with all the latest news. And Miami fans, talk to us. Who do you feel is going to be the breakout wide receiver for the Canes in 2025? Let us know. Comment section below. Let's talk some Colorado recruiting. And, you can't talk Buffs recruiting on this show without talking impact freshmen. If there's one thing that we learned from the Wiltfong Whip Around, it's that Coach Prime recruits you out of high school to play right away. And in this video, I got On3 national scout Cody Belair. We're going to break down the Buffs' instant impact recruits in this 2025 high school recruiting class. So before we get going, Colorado fans, do me a favor, smash that subscribe button for me. We're out here talking Colorado recruiting all year round, and we want you to be a part of it, so jump on board and hit subscribe. All right, let's bring in Cody Belair. And Cody, a really good signing class here. Some big finish. Everybody knows about Julian Lewis, Carday Smith, London Merritt. They finished with a bang. But I brought you in to talk about guys that are going to play as freshmen. Who you like?
Yeah, Josh, the Colorado offensive front has been a bit of a roller coaster for the Buffs fans to watch since Coach Prime's arrival in Boulder. But after a brutal first year of pass protection, they turned the corner this past season, turned into one of the more improved offensive lines in the country this past season. And now a big driver in that development was offensive line coach Phil Loholt, who is now in Starkville coaching at Mississippi State. And the Buffs have seen 6 offensive linemen search for greener pastures in the transfer portal, including starters Khalil Benson and Hank Zelinskas. But never fear, Colorado fans, because 4-star, top 150 prospect Carday Smith is on campus right now, and he brings NFL-level measurables. I'm talking 6'6 plus, 300 pounds with over 36-inch arms and nearly a 7-foot wingspan. This guy's a freak show. His physical profile and athletic ability allows him to walk in and compete for a starting tackle spot early on in spring practice. And if Colorado's trotting out Jordan Seaton and Carday Smith as their bookend tackles next year, the Big 12 better watch out. And speaking of watching out, Josh, the next impact freshman I have for you, you better hope your eyes can keep up with him when watching him on your screens next season, because it's none other than Max Prep's National Player of the Year and Texas 6A state champion Quentin Gibson. This guy is electric and is considered a stock-up prospect for us here at On3, especially after what we saw from him this season and at the Under Armour All-American game. So stay tuned for that rankings bump in the next update, Colorado fans. But with how much production is leaving that receiver room from this past season with Travis Hunter, Will Shepard, LaJonte Webster, and Jimmy Horn all heading to the NFL, there are plenty of targets to go around for Quentin Gibson in that new offense, catching passes from none other than Caden Salter next year.
Yeah, Colorado fans know those names because they will be on the field making plays in 2025. Now, Cody, we got to talk. If we're here talking Colorado, we got to talk Julian Lewis. Now, might not be an instant impact player just because of what Colorado's done in the transfer portal, bringing in Caden Salter. It looks like, there's going to be some sort of transition there. So from Julian Lewis development standpoint, what does this freshman year mean? What does it mean for not only Julian Lewis, but also the Colorado offense?
I think you have to start with Caden Salter, Josh. I think you have to say, what is this offense going to look like going from Shedeur Sanders to Caden Salter? Caden Salter brings an element to the quarterback position that I haven't seen for the last couple of years, which is the ability to run and create QB-designed runs. Caden Salter is not afraid to make plays with his legs, so that's something that defenses will have to account for. And I think what Julian Lewis's development could look like sitting behind Caden Salter is the ability to learn and take the time to process. This is a guy that's played a lot of football, but he has reclassified, which did cut off another year of development and playing the game. And the game at quarterback is all about reps. So being able to take mental reps and learn from someone that's as experienced as Caden Salter is extremely valuable for his development. That way he doesn't have to be thrown into the fire, and he can take a year to learn and grow as a player.
Now, Cody, what if it doesn't exactly happen like that? Like, what if all of a sudden Caden Salter goes down and you got to throw Juju Lewis in there? What's Colorado going to do?
Yeah, Josh, that's a great point. I think what happens is that they sort of revert back to the Shedeur Sanders style of play. Ironically, Shedeur and Julian Lewis's skill sets are extremely similar because they work on being decisive decision makers. The ability to get the ball out, the ability to find your playmakers in space and let them do the work. I think what Caden Salter brings to the offense is a lot of run game and a lot of designed QB action. So if Julian Lewis were to go back into the game, I think that's something you see the Colorado offense turn more into what they're familiar with, looking like a Shedeur style of offense, as opposed to this new run-heavy, Caden Salter-driven offense.
All right, really exciting roster that they're building out there in Boulder in 2025. Colorado fans, talk to Cody and I. Who's some of your favorite players from this 2025 class? There's some good ones. I mean, you got London Merritt, Adrian Wilson, Quanell Farrakhan, Antonio Branch, Christian Hudson. The list goes on. Colorado fans, talk to us. Who do you think is going to have a great career from this 2025 class? Let us know. Comment section below. The only remaining 5-star in the 2025 class is officially back on the market. Ty Haywood from Denton, Texas is no longer committed to Alabama. The two sides really hadn't been communicating, but now it is official as Ty Haywood has decommitted. I got Director of Recruiting Chad Simmons on this video, and we're going to break it down on these latest developments with Haywood and figure out who could land him. So before we get going, do me a favor, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. This is the best recruiting channel on all of YouTube, so jump on board. All right, let's bring on Chad Simmons. Chad, the number 5 ranked offensive tackle, number 22 best player overall, is officially back on the market. You kind of reported, or no, you did report back in December that Ty Haywood would not sign with Alabama. Since then, it's kind of gone cold. Had these two sides really not been communicating?
Yeah, I think that kind of died off. I think really it came down to Bama in I guess their own way, kind of gave him an ultimatum. Hey, look, sign with us in December, make it official, lock yourself in with the Tide, or we're going to go a different direction and not wait for you in February. So I think he kind of knew, and his camp knew, that if they didn't sign with Bama that first week in December, they were going to end up somewhere else. And this has kind of been a group effort that all of us, from my colleague Steve Wiltfong to EJ Holland at the Wolverine to Tim Watts and that staff at Bama Online, all just kind of putting pieces together over the last 4, 5, 6 weeks. And we had a pretty good idea when he did not sign on December 4th that he was not going to end up at Alabama.
Yeah, that's what you guys were saying on the signing day show. Now it looks like it's come full circle. He is now decommitted officially off that Alabama commit list. A lot of fans were asking, well, why is he still committed? Because he hadn't said anything until now. So, Chad, who are the main teams involved in this recruitment moving forward?
Yeah, I think you have to start with Michigan. Obviously that was the team that really worked and pushed to get him signed in December once they kind of felt they had a window to take him away from Alabama late in November. Obviously, he chose not to sign early, but right now this weekend he goes in to take his first trip to Ann Arbor. Obviously, Michigan made a run through Texas late in November, got their foot in the door. They want to take that next big step this weekend when they get him and the family and his representation on campus up there at the big house. And that'll be, they would love nothing more. Sharon Moore, Grant Newsom, that staff at Michigan, than to get him on campus and then him leave as a Michigan commit. Will that happen? We're definitely watching that for sure this weekend, but they are, and they have been, Michigan, that is, the team to beat. The others to watch right now, I think, is you have to start with the home state school, Texas Tech. Like Michigan, Haywood has not been on Texas Tech's campus. We're watching if he comes out of this weekend uncommitted. Do they lock in an OV to Lubbock and go see the Red Raiders? Florida State is not going away. They had him on campus for an OV back in the summer. They were a contender then. They're trying to become one still now. They're trying to work to get him back on campus for an unofficial visit between now and February. So Florida State, Texas Tech, Michigan, those are the three we're watching right now, starting with the Michigan Wolverines.
So does he have any other trips planned besides this Michigan visit coming up this weekend?
As we record this right now, Josh, nothing planned. There are, quote unquote, in discussion with Texas Tech, potentially with the visit there. That obviously Florida State's pushing, working hard to get him back to Tallahassee as well. But right now, this morning, as we shoot this, the only visit locked in is to Michigan this weekend.
So do you think with Florida State, I mean, having him on campus for a summer official visit seems like, years ago at this point, having gone through the season, early signing day, do you think Florida State has a chance if they can't get him back on campus? Do they have a legit shot?
Look, they've had him on campus before. That's more than Michigan or Texas Tech can say as of right now.
Yeah.
They've gotten him on campus and had him around that staff. There's been obviously some changeover on Mike Norvell's staff in Tallahassee, but the main thing is Mike Norvell is still there. He's definitely one of the more active head coaches out there when it comes to recruiting. He knows that family. He knows Ty. He stayed in communication. Others now are involved as well. You can't rule Florida State out. I think they right now have to be considered a team based on, again, intel on the outside looking to get back in. They obviously struggled this season coming off the ACC championship a year ago. There's been some changes, but there is some still communication going on between the two parties.
Okay, so we'll see what happens. Big visit to Michigan this weekend. If a commitment doesn't happen over the weekend, are we looking at National Signing Day, which, honestly, it's only 3 weeks away at this point?
Yeah, I think that's still the plan. Look, could they go up there and be wild and blown away? And we know NIL's involved, reach a deal per se, and get things locked in with Michigan. I think that's very possible. I mean, Michigan would love nothing more than to get him on campus for 48 hours, have him leave as a commitment. But I think right now, heading into this weekend, the plan is to take the visit, see how they feel, keep communication with some other schools, and make that final decision whether they take visits, next weekend, the weekend after, and then sign around February, was it the 7th maybe, whatever that Wednesday is, Saturday is this year. I think that's the plan right now. But again, this visit this weekend is a big one to Ann Arbor.
Yeah, it is. All right, you guys are the real recruiting experts. So let us know, comment section below. Where do you think the last 5-star is going to land? Ty Haywood on the market. Where will he sign? Let us know, comment section below. More dollars are being spent on college football rosters in 2025 than ever before. That's why I got On3's Pete Nakos here to talk about what's going on, not just with NIL, but college football rosters in general are exploding. So we're going to break it all down. But before we get into it, you guys, Pete, tell them where to hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel, the best recruiting channel on all of YouTube. All right, Pete, we've heard the numbers in the past, and they seem like they've been high. Yep. So are teams really spending more now than ever?
Yeah, no, teams are definitely spending more than they ever had before, and it's a mix of the revenue sharing that's coming that won't start until the summer, but schools are starting to use those dollars now to win in the portal, and then you also have these collectives who are trying to front load and invest in rosters right now because as part of that House versus NCAA settlement that's going to start revenue sharing, there's going to be some new regulations that could make it tougher for some of these donor-led organizations to pay athletes. So why wait to see what happens instead of just investing in rosters right this second? So
does revenue share mean hard cap? Or is there going to be some sort of, for lack of a better term, salary cap in college football?
So in 2025, schools can only share up to $20.5 million with their athletes, but that doesn't mean that athletes can't still sign the lucrative brand deals that we see with the Powerades and Gatorades and the shoe brands and things like that. And that also doesn't mean that donor deals, right, what the main percentage of dollars flowing in NIL right now from the collectives, those aren't going to go away. The settlement's going to try to curb that, but I don't think we're really going to have an answer on that one way or the other. But Josh, you and I know it most. Everyone on On3 knows it as we cover recruiting and college football. Dollars have become imperative to winning and retaining and attracting talent in college football. Yeah. And I don't think any of that is going away anytime soon.
Especially with Ohio State doing what they did, right? Because we've talked so much in the summer and the preseason about Ohio State has the highest roster, close to $20 million. And it looked like they were maybe going to, underproduce for what they were spending. But fast forward, here they are in the national championship game, and it looks like they are, getting their money's worth. So when we talk about the quarterback position, how is revenue sharing going to impact that? Because we saw last year Cam Ward, $1.52 million. That kind of set the market. This year, Carson Beck, $3 million or more. What's going to happen when revenue sharing? Is it going to kind of put the brakes on that, or is the quarterback position just going to explode? Inside Scoop listeners, we're talking Prize Picks, and you guys know I love my Prize Picks, and now we got the national championship coming up for college football. NFL football is entering playoff season, so it's a great time to up your game. Lines are becoming available as we speak for Ohio State and Notre Dame next week. Let me know who you're playing. Will Howard, Jeremiah Smith, Riley Leonard. Let me know who you got. Now, you guys know all about Prize Picks. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay. That's what makes Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. Prize Picks now offers Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits right into your account. It's the most fun and easy way to make a little money during the football season. So here's what we're going to do. Go to prizepicks.com/inside scoop, and you're going to receive a guaranteed $50 once you play $5 in lineups. So get this. You play $5 in lineups. Whether you win or lose that, you're going to have $50 in your account afterward. And all you got to do is go to prizepicks.com/inside scoop. So let's do it. Let's make some money as the football season winds down. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
I don't think it goes up significantly more of where we are right now, but multiple quarterbacks in this year's transfer portal cycle are going to get more than $3 million per year in 2025, and that includes Carson Beck, that includes Darian Mensah, the Tulane quarterback who transferred to Duke. John Mateer's deal with Oklahoma is in that ballpark as well. So yeah, I think the quarterback position, to no surprise, remains the most highly valuable position in college football, just like the NFL, and the dollars are showing it.
All right, so last season, off season, we talked a lot about Oregon. We talked a lot about Ohio State, obviously Miami with the Cam Ward deal. But who's emerged as the big spenders this offseason?
So it's funny. So Ohio State and Oregon and Miami have all done good work in the portal. Oregon may have pound for pound the best portal cycle in the class. Steve Wolfong wrote about that yesterday for On3. But there's been an emergence of some spenders who maybe have not been the biggest spenders in the last 4 years who have really come out strong. Auburn went all out. They obviously added Jackson Arnold. They built up that wide receiver room some more. And then LSU, after losing out on Bryce Underwood, they kind of went off in the portal, had a really good class, in my opinion. But, the biggest spender of them all in this portal cycle, Josh, has been Texas Tech. The Red Raiders have now built a roster that's going to be expected to contend for a Big 12 title in 2025. I don't have the exact number of what they spent on their roster this portal cycle, but as I told you last week, I'm confident that it's in the $5 million ballpark. And that's just from the portal, and I don't think they're done yet either.
Wow. So, who's to say whether it's worth it or not? We'll have to wait and see how the next 2025 season plays out. When revenue sharing comes in, does that mean the fans are off the hook? Like, are collectives no longer going to be utilized to pay recruits? Are fans going to get to hold on to their money and the colleges or is that not going anywhere? So
I think what we're starting to see across college sports right now is you're seeing all these like fan donor-led collectives are making some interesting decisions. The collective at Colorado shut down earlier this week. On the flip side, though, you still have a ton of collectives in the SEC that are still operating business as usual. I think the lift on the everyday fan is going to go away compared to what we've seen. I still think, though, that the top donors and boosters are going to be expected to or asked, I should say, to donate. And whether that be to a collective or a school, all the money's going to the athletes one way or the other.
Eventually, it's going to end up in the athlete's hand. If a collective goes away, that doesn't mean a recruit or a player on the roster could still sign a brand deal without a collective, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, athletes
that
have agents and everything. Yeah. I mean, that's for especially the top players in the sport right now. That's all going through agents.
All right. So when the revenue sharing begins, what is the expected number? What are teams going to be able to spend on a roster? Has that been talked about at all?
Yeah, so that 20.5 number we talked about earlier, that is like the total a school can share with all athletes across the athletic department in the 2025 year. And then there's an escalator, so it will rise every year. It's based off projections and stuff from the year before. But so you look at the 20.5, roughly 15 to 17 million for like a Big Ten, SEC, Power 4 school. They're expected to spend 15 to 17 million on football.
All right. Big changes coming to the way NIL is dealt with. And you guys let us know. How do you feel about revenue sharing? Do you think this is the right way to go for college football? Let us know. Comment section below.